back live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know what time it is. It's Renovation Nation time. Yes, it is. Yes, it is another Saturday. Hope you guys are having a great Saturday. Sitting here reminding myself about some things I've got to do today. But the first is, well, get busy at this show. And that's what we're doing. I'm Chad Rowland, host of this crazy show called Renovation Nation. And if it's the first time that you're catching this show, well, I'll say it's a Seinfeld episode. It's a show about nothing until we turn it into something. In the last few weeks, we've been turning into a lot of things. I can't think of everything we've talked about, but I know at the end of the last show, the last show was called Standing Seamless. Why? Because we talked a lot about standing seam, the pros, the cons, compared to a shingle roof, the cost. It's if you didn't hear it, well, go to YouTube, search A Standard Conversation or RTM Roofing, or go to our website, which I'll mention right here in a second, and pull it up. You'll be able to hear everything we did last week, because that's what we're doing. We're posting the shows either Sunday or Monday, tomorrow or Monday, and video style of this show. And there's a bunch of reels. I talked about that a little bit, but there are a bunch of reels I've been putting out that a lot of people seem to be enjoying. So, if you didn't catch anything about standing seam, well, go to YouTube and last week's show. But this week, well, I've named it again this week. I guess I'm going to get in the habit of starting to name my shows, be a professional, I say. And I've talked a little about this before, just in happenstance, if you will. And it's perception versus perspective. And there's multiple things you can use this, well, I don't know, it's not really a technique. I guess it's a technique. I don't know what it is. It's perception and perspective. What's your perception of something? And if you're, well, in its shoes, what would be your perspective? And the reason I went with that title is because earlier this week I met with Gary Ashton's team, the Tay-Ray group, as I call it, or Tarjay. They all cracked up. But nevertheless, the Ashton Real Estate Group, and got to speak in front of all of them. Got to see a lot of old school people I hadn't seen in a while, and got to meet a bunch of new ones. So hello, all y'all. And I talked a little bit about this. It was the perspective. All right, let me rewind. I'm flying today. I got to slow down. The perception. What is the perception of a roof, right? What's the perception of a realtor? What's the perspective of a roof, of having a roof or buying a roof or purchasing a roof? And what's the perspective of being a realtor if you were in their shoes? That's what I went over, and I went ahead and actually wrote it down before I forgot it, because I really want to talk about that. Well, I don't know. I've had many shows on here where I've talked about, in my opinion, roofing sales. It's some of the hardest sales in the world because no one wants to buy a roof. That's the perception and their perspective. That's definitely the way I perceive the majority of people out there. You don't want to have to pull out $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $100,000 out of your pocket to pay for your roof. But yet you pull out $500,000, $750,000, $1 million to purchase that home, which has a roof. And it gets on into some other things that I'm going to jump in on that, but that's my perception that I see out there, and I'm pretty sure it's your perspective because it's been my perspective for many years before I got on this side of the business and see the value of the roof, of your home in general, because, RTM Roofing, we don't just do roofing. We do siding, we do soffit, we do fascia, we do gutters, we do chimney caps, we do skylights, and now insulation. Home insulation, above your head, as I say. We're not doing walls and all that stuff, but we'll put it above your head, especially blow-in. If you go the foam route, we've got some avenues we can send you on that and make sure you get taken care of, but that's not our wheelhouse. Our wheelhouse is blow-in. So moving on, as the gentleman says on YouTube that I'll follow, let's move on. This is going to be fun today. Perception versus perspective. Let's do what most people perceive a roof is? Well, number one, they perceive it to be free, or their insurance buys it, or they're not going to pay their deductible, or free. That's my favorite four-letter word, and I'm being very sarcastic because I hate the word free. There's nothing free. You've heard me go, I'll use another 50-cent word here, or 5-cent word, ad nauseum on that. I think I generally know what that means. I believe it's my personality type. And don't stop. But my point is people think it's free. They expect it to be free. They don't think it's free. They expect it to be free. And it's not. Sometimes it is. If you have insurable damage and your insurance does what they're supposed to, yeah, it can be free from the insurance minus your deductible or upgrades, or including your deductible and upgrades. But it's not free. And I've always had a wild, I don't know, when I'm driving down the road thinking thoughts of, I always thought it was that way too. Again, until I got on this side of it and see the value of the roof. But yeah, the immediate perception of a roof for most homeowners is it's free. I shouldn't have to pay for that. But you do, and you do pay for it monthly in your mortgage. You can't get a mortgage without a roof, which I'll get into that. But my point is you're already paying a monthly payment on your roof. And yes, your house won't die. That $850,000, $750,000, $500,000 piece of property, the home that you're in, yeah, that $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month payment, a couple $100 of that's your roof. And your house doesn't immediately die, but your roof will. And you'll still be paying that $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, whatever monthly payment, but need a roof. And so that's a big perception. What's another perception of a roofer, or of a roof in general, especially after a company comes out and inspects and, it's free. And no, from RTM Roofing, it's complimentary. It's not free. We give it to you. But what's the next thing is that you're too high. You got a bad pipe boot flashing. It's a $300 repair, let's say, $350. $350, my cousin Benny, I can do that for $100. Great. They licensed, they bonded, they insured, they have work comp, they have all that stuff. I doubt it. Not if they can do it for $50 or $150. I don't see how any business in the world, unless you're just a one-man operation wanting to help somebody out with pretty much zero overhead, which is, I guess it's possible. I've yet to figure that out. But if it was, I would be a lot less expensive, I can tell you that. But yeah, it's always, I know somebody. And that's great, because that somebody may be very good. And that's what, the names in the industry, it's Chuck in a truck or Pete in a pickup or whatever. There's a lot of good ones of those. There are. But are they doing it next year? Let's say there's a problem with their repair. Can you find them again? And there's nothing worse than a Thanksgiving dinner with your cousin Vinny sitting across while it's dripping on your table. And him going, I tried. I'll do it for another $150. Well, the value of that is you're going to get what you pay for. And get a qualified company that's insured. Ask them for their insurance. They should be able to give it to you. Their work comp, their general liability. I mean, if they don't, that's a problem. Just like if they don't give you a contract, that's a problem. But let's get back to more perceptions about the roof. Let's see here. Yeah, you charge too much, but I guess I'm going to do 3 of those on that. And on realtors, I was talking to them saying, most people's perceptions of realtors are, anyone can do it. Everybody's doing it, and things like that. And, you're too expensive. You don't do enough. But yet, realtors work long hours. They really do. Sometimes they call me too late at night because we do turn off the lights and shut the door sometimes. But nevertheless, that's the world they live in. So it's a pretty wild perception. And I get the perception, but what blows my mind is I don't know how to. I guess I do it here to the best of my ability to educate you of the perspective, the way you need to see this, not your perception, because your perception is correct by all the advertising out here and all the trucks down there that say free estimates, free roofs, get you a free roof. We'll get your insurance to buy you a roof. Well, if they're getting your insurance to buy you a roof, there's something illegal going on, because roofers don't get anything done other than, yeah, I believe that's a crease. I believe that's a hell hit. I believe X, Y, and Z. It's, the insurance is going to do what they're going to do. There's no getting you anything. It either is damaged by wind or hail, or it's not. Or it's somebody's perception versus perspective of what it really is. And it is interesting because everybody has a different perception of a lot of things. We can be looking at the same object and get a different perception of it. I always use the brown-gray dog. What color is it? Is it brown or gray? Me and my wife have had multiple fights over it. I'm telling you, that's a brown dog, and she'll argue with me it's gray. And I can see it's in the gray family, but that's brown, right? That's the perceptions. But I guess if you really got into the dog and look back at your leg, you'd say, man, I'm brown. That's what I would expect. But then again, they might say gray, and that would change your perspective. So I'm trying to change people's perspective about their roof and the value it brings to you. Not from you, to you. That's a big, big difference. And if it's that time to inspect your roof, which I think for a lot of you it is, it's spring. Rains are coming. There's been a lot of winds. We've had ice storms. You don't know if you've not had it checked since all of this stuff. Call RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751 or go to the website, www.rtmroofing.com. Scroll to the bottom, fill out the contact card, come straight to us for all your roofing, siding, soffit, fascia, gutters, chimney caps, skylights, and insulation needs. See you in 3. Hey, this is Chad Rowland with RTM Roofing. You already know us for our roofing, our siding, our soffit, our fascia, our gutters, our chimney caps, our skylight work. Now, home insulation. It's time to get your attic inspected. Do you have enough? How long has it been there? What's inside there? Call RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751 or go to rtmroofing.com. Listen every Saturday right here to Renovation Nation. And we're back live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know what time it is. It's Renovation Nation time. All day long. Twice on Sundays. No, just Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. You've got me to 12. You've got me to 12 today. I'm Chad, host of this crazy show called Renovation Nation. Chad Rowland, that is. Host of this crazy show called Renovation Nation. Coming at you live, as I said, from Super Talk 99.7 WTN from the undisclosed location of Studio 378. Yeah, sitting here, it's another Saturday. I'm trying to figure out what all's going on. We're going to be a little chilly, getting cold, isn't it, again? Yeah, I don't know what quote-unquote winter this is. It's not blackberry winter yet. That's not coming up for another about 6 weeks, but nevertheless, we're still getting that thermal expansion and contraction. Another reason to get, your home inspected, your roof inspected. And as I was saying previously, that today's show is called Perception versus Perspective. And it's good when you can line them both up. My perception is what the perspective of that is. And that'd be a pretty good bat in 1,000. It's hard to do until you put some, and what I mean by that, yeah, it is hard to do because to me, it's the old adage of, walk a mile in their shoes before I hate saying judge them, but before you perceive what you think is going on. Sorry, there's something out this today in the allergy season that's getting me. Excuse me. But my point is that it is good when you can line up both. And after you've walked a mile in their shoes, you've got a different perspective. It most times will change your perception. And so we're going over that. So last segment, I went over a little bit of most people's roof's perception about roofing or their roof or the cost of the roof or some things like that. Let's go over the perspective. Let's go from my perspective. It's not my perception, it's my perspective. The roof protects everything that you own. It protects you. I always jokingly say, and it's, I always say it's not a joke. It's a joke whenever I say that. But I always like to say that, when Adam and Eve got on the planet, they might have wanted some fruit and some water. But I guarantee you, one of the first things that anybody would do when they're lost in the woods is you find shelter. Shelter. Then you get water and then worry about food, because it's sort of in that order. But it wasn't just shelter to put over their head. It was for when they went and got food and anything else they needed, they brought back and put under the shelter. It's the same thing we do today. There's no different. We just think it didn't look like it does today, and it probably didn't. But my point is that it's funny. We're the same people. We're the same people. We do the same, is it Neanderthal, whatever they call it, the same internal true core fight or flight method is gather stuff and put it under something so it doesn't ruin. Well, that's your roof. It protects everything you own. It also shelters. It shelters you. It shelters you, your family, things that you can't put a price on, and some things that you can put a price on, which is pretty much everything in your house. But I would say there's some people that have certain things they value more than other things in their home. Well, that's the roof's job. That's the number one job of the roof, is to keep the sun and the weather and all the four seasons that we get in Tennessee out of your house. Keep it out. Matter of fact, your air conditioner works better if you have a roof. I think. But we got to check insulation. But nevertheless, and did you know, now check with your insurance agent, but I know the insurance company I'm with, that if my roof is 7 years or younger, then I get a different insurance rate than if it's 7 years or older. It's probably different at different insurances. That's just the one I know from aging roofs for certain agents over my career, because I use the example that, and these are just made up numbers, but if $500 is the base for home insurance and you've got a roof that's over 7 years old, well, that might be a factor of 6 times 7 times 8 times 9 times 10, right? Times 6 would be $30,000 a month. Times 7 would be $3,500 a month. I mean, not a month, a year. I'm sorry, a year. And if you've got a roof 7 years or younger, it's a smaller multiplier. It might be times 2, times 3, times 4. It varies. And then the base might start at $1,000. I don't know. I'm not an insurance agent. Ask your insurance agent. If I don't have storm damage and need a new roof and pay out of pocket, what's my new rate? And I always jokingly say, if they say, oh, well, you just got a new roof, you're good, that'd be getting a new insurance. That's me, because I know mine offers, hey, newer the roof, the less the liability. And that goes both ways. So there's something to think about. There's a different perspective most people hadn't thought about. And lastly, I'll do 4 on this one. You can't get a mortgage without a roof on a building. It's just 4 walls. I always say, Jamie Oldham taught me that. It's a building envelope. It's 4 walls and a roof. It starts with the foundation, the walls, then the roof. Now you have a complete building envelope that, when built to spec as designed, can allow water entry and get it out. It's when you run across some internal things that didn't get put right in order that fails. But yeah, you can't get a mortgage. It's crazy. Yeah. You buy land, you buy just a bunch of wood standing there. It looks like a building without a roof, and they'll give you a 10-year whatever loan or whatever you call those things, line of credit, whatever, but you can't get a mortgage, which is what I call a traditional, 20, 30, or whatever the 50-year mortgage is now. Jeez. But that's a different perspective. That's my perspective. That's the value that I see the roof brings to you. It definitely brings it to me. And I've seen so many people that didn't understand that until it was too late. And then it did cost them money to have, because there were not any hail damage or wind damage, no insurable damage. It's just old. It's just DOA. You've ran your 200,000 miles. It's still there, but it's leaking like a sieve, and it's just shot. And now once roofs get shot, to me, since they're losing granules, they're heating up hotter. They're also heating your decking up hotter, which starts the old Reagan economics trickle down. It trickles down and starts affecting other things. Just like if you're running an extremely low tire. You're doing more damage to the tire. You got chances of bottoming out on your rim. And that will cause different damages. Ball bearings, wheel bearings, everything bearings. My point is just it trickles down to other things that's going to cost you additional money that it shouldn't have in the first place. Now, that happens, but if you're on top of your maintenance, you can mitigate a lot of that and not be out of pocket as much. I've said just basic maintenance, just an average $500. Taking $500, tuning up your roof goes a very, very long way. Very long way. Now, depending on your size, it may be $800, maybe $1,000 tune-up, but you've got a $25,000 roof. That matters. If you got a $1,000 roof, you shouldn't pay $500 to tune it up. That's half the price. Buy a new roof. I always say if it goes over a third of a price, and if I don't believe you've got more than 5 years on that roof or less, 2 to 3, because it's just dead, I wouldn't spend a dime on it. If you are, your roof's just costing you more. Because when I spend money, I like to get some longevity out of it. Well, if it's that time for that inspection, call RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751, 500-0751, or go to rtmroofing.com, scroll to the bottom, fill that out, and we'll be out. That's the easiest way I can say it. For all your roofing, siding, soffit, fascia, gutters, chimney caps, skylights, and now blown-in insulation above your head. Needs repairs and replacements. Well, we're all kind of perceiving everything today. Just come on back. See you through. Hey, this is Chad Rowland with RTM Roofing. You already know us for our roofing, our siding, our soffit, our fascia, our gutters, our chimney caps, our skylight work. Now, home insulation. It's time to get your attic inspected. Do you have enough? How long has it been there? What's inside there? Call RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751 or go to rtmroofing.com. Listen every Saturday right here to Renovation Nation. And we're back. Back live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know what time it is. It's Renovation Nation time. Dun, dun, dun. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Hope you're having a great Saturday. Thank you for tuning in. And all you longtime listeners, thank you. I really appreciate it. Whether you've ever called RTM Roofing or not, I really do appreciate it. I can't tell you the amount of people I've seen over the last month that listen to this show. Now, not all of you called me, but that's okay. That's okay. I forgive you. At least you understand what's going on. And that's half the battle. That's what I like doing here. Of course, I like bringing business to RTM through this show. Of course I do. It employs a lot of people. But at the same point in time is I want you to get educated. And from my previous segments today, the perception versus perspective is what I'm trying to do. Who was I telling? I can't remember, but I was telling somebody this last week that's the biggest dilemma I see in the roofing industry is, number one, everybody perceives it to be free, which if it was, well, you'd get about another 15 to 18 to 20, 30 grand off your mortgage when you bought it off your house because it wouldn't have been there and you wouldn't have got a mortgage. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy, but it's the education because you maintenance everything else that you own. I mean, you change your oil every 3 to 5 to 7 to 10,000 miles, whatever oil you've got. You do that religiously, and that's a smart thing. Why? Because it will make your car last longer. It will at least help. Now, there's other maintenance you have to do on a car, as I always say, of course, rotate the tires, change the tires, and none of this insurance buys. So you don't expect a free car, right? There's that free word again, like free bird, but free word. But when it comes to roofing, the perception is it's free. It shouldn't cost me anything. I was telling this person that I don't see how the roofing lobby or industry hasn't done a better marketing campaign at reminding people that the insurance shouldn't be the sole provider for your roof. Now, that sounds like I'm advocating for insurance. I've got my issues with them too. I can tell you that. But what I can tell you, I can understand where they come from. When it's the only industry, I mean, your air conditioner dies, you don't expect a free air conditioner or your insurance to buy it unless a tree fell on it, right? Tree fell on it, damaged it, can't fix it, get a new one. They will pay for that. That's what insurance is for. Get a hailstorm that's actually damaged, that actually damages your roof. That's something they should pay for. Have a big windstorm blow by, a tornado, whatever, a tropical storm. Rips shingles off. It's a non-repairable roof. They should be buying the roof because that's what they insure. Because they understand the value of your roof, because I've had numerous clients where their specific insurance, and these clients, by the way, had never had a claim, ever. And they all of a sudden get a letter in the mail. Your renewal's coming up in 3 months, 6 months, 90 days, whatever. We're not renewing you unless you get a new roof. We did our drive-by or our inspection, which is not a claim. They don't always do it yearly, but certain ones, there's a certain time you're fishing a barrel that will be by to look at your property. And if your roof is shot and dead, that's what's coming. And if you don't renew it, now I'm going to assume here, because I always think out of the box and stuff. I'm going to assume that's on your record somewhere when you got relieved from your previous insurance company because you didn't change the roof, that going to get a new insurance company, they're going to see that. And even if they don't, they're going to ask you, how old's your roof? Because that affects the rate of your insurance policy, or at least it used to, unless that's changed. And I don't know that it has, but I don't know that it hasn't either. But unless that's changed, they know the value of your roof. They know the value it has over the things inside of it that they're insuring as well. But I still don't understand why the roofing industry didn't beat it more in the ground in people's heads, including my own, before I got on this side of the microphone, this side of the industry, to tell people to get your roof inspected and not everything's free. And in my opinion, the inspection should actually cost you something, because most of the times before you call, you've got a problem. That's why you called. Most people don't preventively call for inspections. That's why when you call an HVAC company, air conditioner, heating company, that usually have a problem, normally. And when they come out, if you don't want to purchase what they're saying is wrong with it, they're going to charge you $99, $150 for coming out and estimating and showing you how to fix your problem. That's not the case in roofing. As much as I want to change it, that's not the case. The case is the trucks say driving down the road, free. It's free. Yeah, the only thing I like for free, I don't know if there's anything I like for free, because normally you get what you pay for, and free is not good. It's really not. Hey, give me a free piece of gum. That's great. That's great, but it only lasts like 20 seconds or 30 seconds because that's really all it's worth. And, little it's not 3 cents anymore, but you used to be able to get that 3-penny bubble gum. But, like I said, I'm just sitting here just babbling to the microphone, and I hope you get what I'm saying. I'm not trying to hound, but I want to change your perception, because mine got changed from being in this industry. And once I saw the value and what it was costing me in my past life, until I really, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. As I always say, it really sucks when there's a lot of zeros on the end of it when you find out. And you won't do that again. If you do, well, you know what John Wayne supposedly said. Life's hard. It's even harder if you're stupid. Well, repeating the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, definition of insanity or stupidity. I don't know which way it goes. But, yeah, you don't know what you don't know. And that's the problem that I'm not frustrated with. That's the wrong word. But I'm just perturbed by is that I don't understand why the HVAC companies, why the roofing industry hasn't hounded more on get your yearly inspections, get this, get that, and don't expect it to be free. So let's talk, okay, well, if it's not free, if I'm going to pay you to come out to look at my roof, well, why don't we join it like an HVAC company does? Let's get you on a maintenance policy. We'll come out once a year, and we'll go ahead and start budgeting you, $300, $500 a year. That we come out, we inspect everything, and if we see anything wrong, then, and usually, unless you've had a lot of major things, or if it's our first time out there, which it wouldn't be, this would be our second time out there, you're not going to have a lot of damage. That's the point. You should technically, how much money do you spend on your car a month versus a year, and how much do you spend on your roof? I can tell you what you spend on your roof a year is zero. The majority of you spend zero. Spend zero on your car for 1 year. Spend zero. See what that does. Yeah, it's going to cost you a lot more money than it would have than by keeping it as you're going, right? So anyway, I don't want to hound a whole lot on that, but again, that's the perception versus perspective, and the perspective is maintenance your roof. Put money back each year just for that maintenance, and hey, if you don't have to maintenance that year because everything is doing like it's supposed to, which a lot of homes do, not every year do you get damage or does something give, or it's always possible. That's why you get it inspected. You have your money saved up, so when finally, and you'll know this ahead of time because you've been getting inspected yearly, that it's time for a new roof. Maybe a hailstorm didn't come. Maybe a big windstorm didn't come. And, I know a lot of people, a lot. And it's not a bad thing. I get it. I understand it. Hey, if you can get something for free, yeah, you're going to do it. But, yeah, I don't want a roof. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait for a storm. Well, I need to do another insurance show because in the insurance game, it's changed. I call it a game because it changes every year. And, just read the fine print of your insurance policies. And each year they pick a new small detailed line to come back out with that says, we cover that until then. And, I'm not saying they're all bad. They're not all bad. It's just, hey, it's the game. It's the game. But don't play the game. Be ahead of the game. That's what I'm telling you. Be proactive, not reactive, because should you be one of those people that has legitimate damage on your roof from a storm, and then your insurance company comes out and says, no, that's repairable. It's $500. You have a $1,000 deductible. It's a wash. You just get a claim on your record for no big deal when your roof is beat up with hail or whatever. I've seen it. I've seen it happen. And I've also seen it the opposite. But I'm saying be proactive so that's not you. Hey, maybe you do file a claim. There is a lot of damage. They come out. You end up holding the stick, as I say, left holding the stick. You're not going to be hurt at that point because you are ready for it just in case. Now, you can go argue with the agent and change companies and do what you got to do after that, because I always say people really don't know how insured they are till they need it. And that's why I always talk to my insurance agents. But that's a whole nother show I need to do. What I need to do now is tell you how you contact RTM Roofing. And how do you do that? The easiest way is to go to rtmroofing.com, scroll to the bottom, fill out the contact card. It comes straight to us. You don't have to talk to me on the phone for an hour. I'm going to talk about a gentleman I did talk to for over an hour last week. Oh, it was great. It was great, though. But you don't have to talk to us for an hour for us to get your information. We're immediately sending you Here's the date we're coming out, because you've told us your problem. And we get to it. We get to it. We listen to Renovation Nation live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. See you in 3. Hey, this is Chad Rowland with RTM Roofing. You already know us for our roofing, our siding, our soffit, our fascia, our gutters, our chimney caps, our skylight work. Now, home insulation. It's time to get your attic inspected. Do you have enough? How long has it been there? What's inside there? Call RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751 or go to rtmroofing.com. Listen every Saturday right here to Renovation Nation. And you know we're back live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know what time it is? It's Renovation Nation time. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, I finally got my music back. I was just in there thinking about that. I finally got mixed the music back in a little better and got what I used to do. I'm back in my flow. It was weird. Last couple of weeks is having some technical difficulties with our song playback. My intro, as I always like to say. And but nevertheless, hope everybody's having a great Saturday. You are listening to Renovation Nation live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chad Rowland, host of this crazy show. Yeah, it's Saturday. It's going to be chilly again. And then next week, I was just looking at some of the temperatures. We got some rain coming in Wednesday and Thursday. You know, how's your roof? Do you know? Oh, yeah, I still have people that come up to me that's listen to this show back. I used to have a commercial. Oh, it's been 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, how's your roof? Do you know? And they're like, do you know? I'm like, I hate to be just, it's not, I don't know what the word is, bullying or whatever, but I wish somebody would have beat it in my head years earlier of the value of your roof. That's really what it is. And so I'm trying to beat it in your heads very politely and professionally, which I'm sometimes neither. But at the same point in time, I'm hoping, I know a lot of you, it's you know, I always say people are like cattle. Individually, they're smart, and in a group, they're stupid. And it's not just stupid, they just herd mentality, which is pretty much stupid. But what I'm getting at, though, is that you're not in a herd right now. You're actually listening to the show. You might be with 1 or 2 people, but you're not in a crowd that's running when someone yelled fire and there's no smoke. Because that's what it is. The whole crowd says, roof's free, insurance paid for it. I didn't pay a dime, and I got upgraded. Yeah, okay. Who said that about their air conditioner? About their timing chain on their car or belt. I don't think you have to change chains. But anyway, that's the thing of, today's show is perception versus perspective. It's easy to have a perception of someone, that you've not been on their side of the aisle, their side of the table, looking back the different direction. It'll change your perspective. Trust me. My perspective got changed. I talk on the radio here. I don't see anybody, but I talk to thousands of people every Saturday. I'm no more nervous than just being nervous of trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about. But when I spoke in front of the the realtors this past week at Gary Ashton's team, #1 in the world, that I was nervous. I haven't actually looked in the eyes in a while. I needed a guitar or something in my hand. That makes me, I needed a pacifier or something because my leg was shaking. It was embarrassing, I have to say, looking back on it. But I actually think they understood a lot what I said this time. Sometimes when I go into places like that or going to speak in front of people about RTM roofing, I go into, this is what we do and, all this stuff. And I've done that in front of that group many times. And I'm like, I got to change it up. I've got to show you the value or show them the value, like I'm trying to show you the value of your roof, of how, as I always say, and I didn't mention it to them, I should have. I call it adulting, not being an adulterer. Adulting. What's an adulting? It's being an adult and actually realizing that your roof protects everything you own. And if you've got to bite the bullet on it and break it out of your back pocket to get it right, that's being an adult. Now, it doesn't do anything for the ego or for the dopamine dump of like a new car stereo or a new boat or my kids at Juilliard, which that's a different story. But you don't get the dopamine dump to show it off. The dopamine dump is laying in bed at night, like maybe next Thursday, when it's raining and blowing and sounding like the world's coming to an end. You at least know prior to that moment, your roof was in operating condition like it should be. It's no different than if you're going to head out to Florida for spring break or a vacation this year and you're going to drive to Colorado. Are you going to change your oil? Are you going to rotate your tires? Are you going to make sure that car's in tip-top shape? Of course you are. Now, why would you do that? Why would you do that? That's crazy. That's crazy. Why would you do that? I'll tell you why you do it. Because your family's with you. You've brought a lot of stuff that you own inside of that car, right? You brought a lot of stuff in there, but not everything you own. Well, some of you might. I've been there. But my point is that that's what I'm trying to, if I'm trying to get across a point or an analogy or get a mind's eye for your mind for you to see what I'm saying. And I have a feeling a lot of you already have and probably yelling at the radio, I get it, go to something else. Yeah, you probably do get it. You probably do get it. I hope you get it. And as I always say, it's not that, of course, I want you to call RTM Roofing at 615-500-0751, 500-0751, or go to rtmroofing.com for all your roofing, siding, soffit, fascia, gutters, chimney caps, skylights, and now insulation needs. Blown-in insulation. Repairs and replacements. Yes, we do repairs. As I was talking to a gentleman this week, I love repairs. It's not because, we're going to get you for $350, for $500, for $1,200. No, because I always say is, if I can't repair your roof, how are you going to let me replace it? If we don't know how to replace how to repair your roof, let me say it again. If we don't know how to repair your roof, how can you be confident we know how to replace it? Because I know a lot of companies out here that do not do, does that sound right? No. But they don't do repairs. They only do replacements. They only do insurance replacements. God bless them. Amazing. But not everything's insurance, so I wonder how people survive sometimes. But RTM Roofing, if it's repairable, that's what we're doing. If it's beyond repair, we're going to tell you that. I'm definitely going to tell you that and say, hey, I've already figured out you're over a third of this roof price, and this thing's already DOA, meaning you're not driving to Colorado or Florida this year, or you'll be stranded on the side of the road, and no one wants that. You're wasting your money if you repair it at this point. We can spend just barely anything, like put a Band-Aid on it to get you where your budgeted need to be. But as I was mentioning back earlier in the show, that's where a maintenance budget comes in. And I'm happy. RTM Roofing is happy to give you a yearly maintenance budget to be prepared for should something occur. And if it really goes beyond that, especially after our first inspection into the next year, if it goes beyond that, that sounds like an insurance problem. That sounds like, or we've already prepped you for you're ready for the roof. Yeah, that's the easiest way I can say it. So, yeah, perception versus perspective. The perception is, I'm not paying for my roof. The insurance is going to. The perspective is from the insurance, no, we're not. That's a negative, Ghost Rider. That pattern's full because we've deemed that your roof's too far gone. You don't have enough storm damage that we've determined. And if you don't get a new roof, we're dropping you. That's a lot of reality right there. And you never know it till you're in it, just like the ice storms. You know, a lot of people, we've seen ice storms before, but some of you that just moved here or really never had it that bad realized how bad things can get really quickly. And yeah, it's you this time. I don't want that being the roof for you. I don't like anybody I hate coming up and going, hey, could you call me out? Going, I don't think that, my roof's only 8 years old, which it's not. It's usually about 15 to 18. And I get up and I come down and go, this thing's dead. That's the last thing I want to tell you. It's like, hey, because I know what you're going to say to me when I go, it's going to be 18,000, 22,000. You're going to look at me like I'm crazy. Yeah, I don't even want to pull it out of my pocket. But don't let yourself get in that spot. Know what you need to know and be proactive about it. That's the perspective to be viewing at. Not you don't know what you don't know. Yeah, it's a lot of zeros. 4 digits. Nope, it's going to be 5. Speaking now, it's almost 5 p.m. somewhere. So, thank you for hanging out today. Thank you for listening to the show. Go to YouTube. Search A Standard Conversation or RTM Roofing. Find us. Go to our website, rtmroofing.com. And next week, come here. We'll still be here, babbling away. See you next week. Thanks for watching Renovation Nation. Hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and share button.